there was a time na sinasahuran kami ng Bitcoin. So sabi sa amin ng amo namin, okay lang ba na hindi muna cash, Bitcoin muna. So kami busit na busit kami. sabi sabi namin, PI, Bitcoin na naman. So ganun kami. That's how it started, no?
River on, stay away, stay ahead, stay on. News flows, AI scanning, markets breathe, blockchains running.
This is Riverian Studios. My name is Urian Benconsejo, and today I have Shankar. So, really funny story. We always see each other at Web3 events, be it in different parts of the Philippines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we never really had the opportunity just to really talk about Web3. Because, like, when you're at events, you're usually talking about the events, you're talking a little bit about like everything else. But right now, we finally have the opportunity to interview him one on one. So, Shankar, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks also Yurian for giving me the opportunity, to be part of this interview. Salamat.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. Another thing we share in common is like we love to travel. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's something that we definitely hit off. Because we were talking about the places we visited, how life was, how local life was, what are the experiences. But before that, Shankar, can you please tell the audience who you are, what you do, and what you do in Web3?
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Shanks. I'm actually working in an IT company as a senior analyst. So currently focused ako sa mga procurements. And yeah, I'm currently based in Manila. I just came back here in Manila actually. So I just recently came from Cebu, but things have turns out there are things that need ako dito. So I have to go back here. And basically last Web3 I attended the Web3 in Pasay, no? In saan nga yun? Sa SMX. Doon tayo nakita no? Sa SMX. I was actually invited by Ken. So yeah, I had the opportunity, excuse me. I had the opportunity to attend the program. So I was there as a guest, nothing else. Yeah, because I myself is of course crypto enthusiast and investor din ako sa crypto. Kaya napupunta ako sa mga ganong event.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would love to get into your story of how you started investing or trading in cryptocurrency. Of course, disclaimer, this is not financial advice, this is just an educational conversation. So Shankar is one of the few people I met him at a party, and then I think
Davao City. Yeah.
yes, in Davao City. And then I think he won a prize because kailangan ipakita yung biggest losses ba yun?
Hindi, USD. Dapat daw may USD sa OKX wallet.
Okay. So like the participants had to show that they had USD in the OKX account, and then Shankar I think showed the biggest, and he won the prize. So but before talking about the event, can you tell us about your journey to trading and investing in crypto and Web3 and blockchain?
Yeah. So my crypto journey started last 2013. That time I was working with a small firm. So yung owner na yun, he was an American. Excuse me. And client ko sila sa real estate. So before kasi nasa real estate industry ako, consultant ako, property consultant, but it's not exclusive with the developers. So I was working with a brokerage firm. And it so happened, naging kliyente ko sila, naghanap sila ng malilis na apartment, no? Tapos after that, kinuha nila ako. I was actually working at a call center company before that time, no? And then nung time na yon, there was a time na sinasahuran kami ng Bitcoin. So sabi sa amin ng amo namin, okay lang ba na hindi muna cash, Bitcoin muna. So kami busit na busit kami. sabi sabi namin, PI, Bitcoin na naman. So ganun kami. That's how it started, no? from there, actually I had 1 point something na Bitcoin. Tapos nung time na yon ang ang mga platforms lang na pwede ka mag-cash out is coins.ph. I forgot the other Filipino pero yun lang, sobrang limited. And from there, that's how I started, my journey. Kasi nag-explore na rin ako until 2015, 2016 na nauso nga yung stock market noon ng mga panahon na yun sa mga millennials, no. So from there until now, ayun, hindi na ako umalis kahit sabihin na nating nagdi-disengage ako kapag hindi maganda yung market.
2013 is such an early stage for Bitcoin, especially in the Philippines, kasi I think
Yes.
during that time, everybody thought it was a scam. Nobody understood the technology behind it, and then there were very, very few people in the crypto. They were, if they were in the crypto industry, most of them were miners, so Bitcoin mining,
Exactly.
and there's not a lot of traders at that time. Could you tell us more about how it was back then?
I was able to, before at that time, oh my gosh, I just, that time Ethereum was given free, for free. It was givenly for free, no? Magmamine ka lang, ang dami kong Ethereum noon, hindi ko alam kung nasaan na yun. Tapos yung Bitcoin faucet, alam mo yung faucet, ganun lang. Tapos sabi namin, ano ba naman to? Di ko maintindihan ba? Yung ano pa nga yung mga panahon na Monero, ang XRP, I think may XRP na rin ata noon Tapos ang RXRP, parang may humiwalay sa kanila yung XLM. So ganun yung mga OGs before. Monero, ganyan. Yung Monero nawala na sa sa mapa Ewan ko ano nangyari doon. So ganun dati yung mga OGs na projects pinamimigay lang, especially the Ethereum nung kaka-launch lang yan, pati yung Bitcoin. I just couldn't imagine na if we can really back our time, no? With this knowledge, ewan ko lang kung saan ako pupulutin ngayon. Ayun. So that was how it is before.
When did you start trading? You mentioned that you first went into stocks. So I'm assuming you traded stocks before you traded crypto, but you already had knowledge about crypto. Is that correct? Could you tell us more?
Yes. So I started trading stocks muna. Although sa crypto kasi parang ano lang namin yun cash out lang ganun. Para igawing PHP. So nag-start ako mag-stock market noon 2015. We used to attend in Call Financials. Tapos that was the time also when I started investing in VUL. I don't know if you're familiar with VUL. So it's an insurance with investment kasi that was the narrative before Wala kang time, kumuha ka na lang ng VUL at the same time you're protected while you're building your wealth. So mga ganun ba? But yun nga, along the way, nung medyo natututo na tayo, so meron ding mga mali no na mga investing. And then nung napansin ko kasi sa stock market, may oras. Parang may business hours lang talaga. 'Di ba? Usually it starts at 9 if I'm not mistaken, 9 AM and then matatapos yung trading. Correct me if I'm wrong by 1:30 ba? So sabi ko ay ayoko nang gano'n no. It doesn't work that way for me kasi my personality. Gusto ko anytime pwede. So chineck ko rin yung yung sa forex. Hindi rin may oras din. So nung na-realize ko sa cryptocurrency na 24/7, yun na. Doon na ako nag-start mag-trading. That was 2015 din pero mga late na yon ng 2015. Ano pa ako nun mag-trade yung parang alam mo yun, hula-hula lang ba? Basta buy lang ng buy. Ganun lang.
That's really interesting. I can't imagine how it was back in 2015, because everything was so limited back then. The
Exactly. Oh.
centralized exchanges weren't that good. The decentralized exchanges, not that good as well. I think during that time there were more swaps like Uniswap and the other things, but not a lot of places where you could properly trade if you're a high frequency trader or you're into perps. Could you tell us more about 2015, 2016?
Yes.
That era
So
of
before no, at that time wala pang mga Binance mga Bybit hindi ko pa sila na ano. We used to trade at Bitfinex, Olinix, yung mga OGs din. Tapos para ma-fund mo sila, you have to cash in coins.ph. Then yung coins.ph, it has two wallets, the PHP and the BTC. Not realizing dati, yung ginagawa ko pa, from PHP, kino-convert ko sa BTC within within cash coins.ph. So ngayon, na nangyayari, from PHP to BTC, may charge pa yon. But later, na-realize ko, teka, binasa ko ulit mabuti yung ng coins.ph. Sinasabi nila ron na even though PHP wallet siya, Bitcoin wallet pa rin yun. So, nung na-realize ko yun, sabi ko, dapat pala, noon ko palang ginagawa to. From PHP wallet, isesend ko na directly sa mga exchanges. Wala, at least somehow makakatipid pa ako. So, ganun, sobrang limited na mga platform. Tapos, meron pang platform noon na tinatawag na BTC-E. So, btc-e.com. Excuse me. So yung btc-e.com is a Russian trading platform ng crypto. It was actually seized by FBI na. Ngayon, meron pa akong funds doon, siguro mga 20,000 pesos, hindi ko na nakuha. Hindi ko na nakuha kasi na-seize na nga siya ng FBI kasi nagamit yung platform sa money laundering, ganun. Tapos, after that, napalitan pa nga yung pangalan niya. Napalitan lang yung domain name, pero yun pa rin yung platform. So, hindi ko pa rin kinuha kasi akala ko okay na, legally. Okay na. Tapos yun, wala na, na-seize na naman. Wala na, sayang. That was, ayun, mga ganyang year. So, ganun dati yung, yung situation ng crypto space, hindi siya ganun ka-friendly sa tao. Kasi, kailangan you really have knowledgeable talaga ng mga panahon na yun kasi unang-una yung mga platform din parang hirap intindihin.
Yeah, it's also interesting that you mentioned coins.ph at such an early time of the Philippine maturity into crypto. Because I think coins.ph was really the only on-ramp you had back then. You weren't able
Yes.
to buy crypto anywhere else. It used to be coins.ph. If I'm not mistaken, no?
Meron pang iba kaya lang nakalimutan ko na yung pangalan nila eh. Mga ano rin sila, parang medyo kilala. Kaya lang si coins.ph lang yung pinaka the best to use at that time. Tapos I remember naging friend ko sa Facebook yung CEO niyan, co-founder si Ron Hos. Until now, friends pa rin kami, pero noong mga panahon na yun, si Ron Host can easily approach pa. Kasi syempre, nag-uumpisa pa lang yung app nun, so hindi pa ganun ka Until such, nung year 2017, dun sumabog yung app. Parang dun naging aware din yung mga Filipinos nun eh. So, ganun siya dati. Napaka talaga, yung kumbaga, at that time, siya yung pinaka the best gamitin sa mga Filipino at sa Philippines.
What was it like in 2017? Kasi I talked with Wei, the CEO of Coins.ph, and we talked about how Coins.ph really exploded during the Axie Infinity, of course. Kasi everybody would use Coins.ph to interact with Axie. But 2017, you said it started to gain traction. Can you tell us a little bit more about what happened then? What was the community like? What was the environment in the Philippines like?
I think kasi nagkaroon na ng hype no. So doon na medyo natatanggap ng mainstream yung Bitcoin. 2017 that was the very first all-time high of BTC. It was around, if I'm not mistaken, $19,000 to $20,000 per BTC. And we didn't expect every day that until every month. Sobrang matinik nung Bitcoin na yon nung mga panahong yon. I was actually working in a international bank sa Taguig. So US bank yon. I think the reason why it exploded because a lot of Filipino people usually nafo-FOMO tayo, fear of missing out. ayun, so feeling natin, oh, naiiwan tayo. Ano 'to, naha-hype ba, maraming naha-hype. Kasi even minsan may gano'n din ako, eh. May gano'n akong tendency kahit na I've been in the space for how many years already, pero ayun. So, yun yung nakikita ko kaya sumabog. Tapos siyempre easy money 'no, maraming gano'n, gusto easy money. Kaya nakita rin nila yung platform na yung coins.ph is ano, oy dito promotional guys, we're just stating facts. So yeah, ayun siguro kaya sumabog dahil may FOMO yung mga Filipino.
Yeah, of course, to add to what you're saying, this is really just a talk about the history of the Philippines when it comes to crypto
Yes.
adoption. And because Shankar has been in the space for so long, it's a really good conversation and a credible source so that we can get an insight of what happened. So 2017, it started to hype, as you said, the
Mm.
FOMO of the Filipinos and everything. But that's very, very different compared to the 2020 Axie Infinity
Yes,
phase,
oo,
no?
different,
Can we talk about between 2017 and 2022? What were you doing personally? Were you trading, more on buying and holding? What was your strategy during that time?
Trading lang talaga. So, what I was using strategy in stock market, just I always do the spot trading lang kasi takot ako sa sa futures or sa derivatives. Kasi yung derivatives or futures ang tawag sa ibang platform. Pag nagkamali ka ng analyzation mo, maliliquidate lahat talaga ng pera mo. And I experienced that a lot of times. Paunti-unti lang like $100, $200, no. So, yeah, that's what I was doing back then. I buy a particular crypto on a very low price. Depends on the time frame, no? Tapos isa-sell ko na siya. Pag tumaas na ng konti, ibebenta ko na, ganun lang. Until 2020 was the biggest breakthrough of my uh crypto journey. And then at the same time, breakthrough, and at the same time, break heart. Break heart in such a way. Ganito explain ko, hindi to love life So, before talking about Axie Infinity, let's talk about Shiba Inu. So 2020, I had an opportunity to know someone on Facebook because that time pandemic, syempre 'di ba pandemic, no? So nagbo-vlog ako, baduy pa nga ng page ko Shanky TV, no? So hanggang sa ano ko yung mag-iinvest ka sa Ethereum. Nakalimutan ko yung platform na yun Basta Ethereum yung gamit nila. Tapos syempre, one of my advocacy is to avoid things like this. So maraming nang bash sa akin. Binash ako kasi wala daw akong alam, ganito ganyan. And then sabi ko, let's see what will happen on that platform. Now, I just forgot that type of investment scheme nung panahon na yun. Pero Ethereum yung ginagamit nila. And then there's a guy, his name is IC. Parang sinang-ayunan niya rin ako. Random people lang to, no? Random people. So, ayan, naging magtropa kami. Tapos na-introduce niya sa akin yung Shiba Inu. At that time, yung Shiba Inu, worthless. So, what I did, I cash in on coins.ph again. Medyo hindi pa ako sanay sa mga P2P nun sa Binance. Parang nakasanayan ko lang the old ways. So, it was my first time to use Uniswap or decentralized exchange. So, yan. So, tinuruan niya ako mag-download ng Trust Wallet. August 2020 to August 2020. And sa mga magtatanong, I can show you proof ng mga transaction. We have blockchain, no? Sa Etherscan. Kapag gusto niyo makita, let me know lang. Isesend ko sa inyo yung links nun. Para wala talagang kwentong barbero. So anyway, I invested 10,000 pesos, Yuri. And that 10,000 pesos consists of around 1.4 trillion Shiba Inu. At that time. Kaka-launch lang nun ng Shiba Inu, kaka-launch lang. Siguro parang na-late lang ako ng ilang araw. Tapos nakakausap ko pa si Ryoshi. Ryoshi was one of the co-founder of Shiba Inu. Wala rin nakakaalam ko anong katauhan niya. He's still anonymous. He or she still anonymous. Tapos, we used to exchange our conversations in Telegram, anong plano, ganito, ganyan. Tapos bigla silang di magpaparamdam. And then yung Shiba Inu at the time, it was like a pump and dump scheme. Kasi yung, excuse me, yung 10,000 pesos ko naging 3,000, I think 3,500. Imagine the value, no? From August until late November and early December, naging ganun. Tapos, ito pa, after nun, hindi nawala na ako ng gana, no? Sabi ng kaibigan ko, mga late na to ng December yata eh. Pre, nag-chat sa akin. Si IC, nag-chat sa akin. Check mo yung trust wallet mo, may nangyayari. Putik, pagtingin ko, naging 500,000. Naging 500,000 yung trust wallet ko, naging 500,000. And that's from Shiba Inu. Tapos sabi ko, yaan ko lang, okay lang yan. Mga bandang January, tapos early February, yun, tumawag ulit sa akin. Nagising ako mga alas 7 yun eh. Alas 7 ng umaga. Alam mo yung trust wallet ko, naging 5 million pesos. Tapos, excuse me, from 5 million pesos, ang bilis lang yan. Naging 3 million, tapos 2 million. So, hindi ako, parang na-overwhelmed ako ba na shit, ano to? Ano to? Ayun. Tapos, trinade ko ulit. Trinade ko yung Shiba Inu. From 1.4, naging 1.6 trillion. Tapos, bumagsak ulit. Naging, from that range, naging 600,000 na lang yung value. Siyempre, marami na take profit eh. At saka mga panahon na yan, dalawang networks lang ang pagpipilian mo. ERC20 under Ethereum at saka BIP20 under BNB. So BNB is the parang token siya crypto siya ni Binance, no. So yun, tapos chinat ko si Ryoshi, what's happening with the price? What's happening? Alam mo, sabi niya lang sa akin at that time, natatandaan ko. Hindi ko na kasi mahanap yung conversation namin eh. Sabi niya, if that money helps you, withdraw. You take profit. Ganun lang. Tapos, let's see what will happen in the next, coming months. Yun. And then after that, so syempre, naiba rin yung tawag dito, yung narrative ko. Na, yung profit na nakuha ko ron, ayun, ininvest sa ibang crypto, sa SafePal, sa Axie, not knowingly na yung Shiba Inu na yun, it could really change my whole life kung hindi ko binitawan. So imagine, if hindi ko siya binitawan nung malist siya sa Binance, na FOMO ulit yung mga tao. Tapos I remember, pinagtatawanan pa ako nung marami rin ng bash sa akin sa mga crypto community na sabi ko, sana malist yung Shiba Inu, ganito, ganyan. Tapos maraming tumawa talaga sa akin kasi nakita nila maraming zero, ganito, ganyan. Pero nung nalist siya sa Binance, the first price na all-time high niya, yung inabot nung holdings ko, kung hindi ko binitawan, was 4 billion pesos. Kasi nalist si Shiba Inu sa Binance mga around, if I'm not mistaken, it's either March or April yata yun ng 2021, no? So yun. And then after that, yung pinaka all-time high niya was October 2021. Tama ba? O mga ganun, basta mga around ganyan. Yung holdings na yun, nasa almost 7 billion pesos sana. So, breakthrough and at the same time, heartbreak. Kasi, hindi nangyari. Pero nandun na ako alam mo yun, nandun ka na, yung opportunity mo, nandun ka na parang nanalo sa loto.
I think that summarizes the crypto sphere in a nutshell. Because the longer you stay in the space, the more your FOMO grows.
Exactly.
Because there's so many times you read about a project, it sounds interesting, but you decide to stay on the sidelines, and then it somehow manages to blow into something big. Um, I think that's very, very interesting. As I said, it summarizes the cryptosphere as a whole, and it's definitely something a lot of people have experienced. That if I just held on to it longer, or some people even sell at a loss. Diba, like paper hands. Like for example, they bought at 10,000, it drops to 3,000, they sell it to cut their losses, and then that
Yeah.
skyrockets.
Yun na nga
So
eh.
that
Oo.
one, yeah, that one hurts even more for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, because it also summarizes the next phase of, I think, the crypto ecosystem during that time, because 2020, 2021, that was the rise of GameFi and memes,
Yes,
meme
yes.
coins, and even meme coins in the Philippines, they started to become huge. So I remember there were so many niche groups on Facebook or other places that people were hunting meme coins together, diba? I think there's
Yeah.
still some today, but during that
The
time they
narrative, the
seemed.
narrative is different now. Kasi Yuri, today is saturated ah. I'm just stating my point of view personally. Disclaimer lang. But the way I observed the market today, it's really saturated in such a way that there are so many options today, unlike before. Kasi before, di ba, as I have mentioned earlier, we only have ERC20 and BIP20. Pero ngayon, ang dami na. Meron ng SUI, meron ng ano pa nga yung isa, yung isang network na sikat.
Solana, Aptos,
Solana,
there's
yan.
so
Oh.
many.
So, lumipat na yung mga tao sa mga networks na yun. Kaya hindi na ganoon kadali mag-hype ng meme coins ngayon, unlike five years ago. Yeah, it's really different today. The narrative is really different. Today, I would say nakakatakot na mag-invest sa meme coin ngayon kasi baka marag pull ka talaga. I would suggest, ito lang yung observation ko lang to, kasi it might be different narrative for other people because it works for them. But for me, it's safe to put your money, no, in the top 10, or I would say top 5, the OGs, Bitcoin, Ethereum, mga ganun, kasi ayun talaga eh. I would say subok na talaga sila. You have to be very careful lang kasi lalo na ngayon may issue ngayon si Bitmaestro. I don't know if you're heard. Sobrang ano niya ngayon, ang init niya sa crypto space dahil sa mga ganyang issues. Yun lang yung mga
Can you
nababasa
can
ko
you
ah.
explain the situation from your perspective? Because I see a lot of things online, but of course, like I have a very different perspective from the people online. I'd love to know your perception.
Okay.
Oh, of course, can you also explain what happened, so that the audience also has
I actually don't know the whole story, but the main story that was happened, no, yung sa kay Bitmaestro is meron daw tinatawag na rug pull. So what is rug pull? For example ako, no, gagawa ko ng token. By the way, before we tackle that, we have to know the difference between the cryptocurrency and token. So cryptocurrency is that it's a currency, digital currency with its own network. May sarili siyang network, hindi siya nakikitap sa ibang network. So kagaya ni Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, ayan, XLM, these are cryptocurrencies kasi they have their own networks. When we say tokens, ito yung mga cryptocurrency or digital currency na nakikitap sa network ng iba. Yung for example, si Shiba Inu is a token. Why? Because he is tapping Ethereum network para ano siya, under siya ng ERC20. So gumagamit siya ng network ng contracts ng iba, yung sa under ng Ethereum. Tama ba? Tama ba yung explanation ko doon? Kasi that's how I understood eh. So ganun. Ngayon, maraming mga tokens, 'di ba? Na iba-ibang. Ngayon kasi marami ng networks, hindi lang ERC20, 'di ba? As I mentioned, meron sa Solana, even sa Dodge nga meron eh. Kaya lang hindi ganun kasikat yung Dodge. So ngayon, gagawa yung isang developer ng isang crypto, no? It could be just for fun or meron talagang use case, no? Kung ano man yung vision nila. But most of the time, nag-meme lang talaga, mga wala namang ano talaga, it's based on hype. So basically, as a developer, maggagawa ako, kunwari, Shanky Dope token, gano'n, no? Or Shanks, no? Tapos, i-hype na yan, isi-shield or i-market sa mga Telegram or sa kung ano-anong platform. And then, pag umangat na yung price, syempre, ganun naman eh, early investors, sila yung unang nag-ano sila yung unang nakikinabang nung ano no, ng fruition nung investment. Dahil ako bilang developer, mas marami akong pwede kong i-manipulate yung wallet ko eh kasi ako nag-create. Mas marami yung share ko, 'di ba? Habang tumataas yung price ng isang crypto project, paano natin masasabing mararag pull 'yan? Kapag yung may pinakamalaking share binenta agad, no? Isa lang to sa mga definition ng rug pull. So, yun, pag binenta ko lahat, babagsak yung price, floor price na. Tapos ngayon, syempre, yung mga tao kawawa rin, yung mga nakabili sa mataas. So actually it's a legal ano eh no. And it's illegal no? Illegal na parang legal scam or parang may pagka-legal na pagnanakaw na yun. Kumbaga sa stock market, merong insider trading ng ano eh na nagawa. It's actually a crime, no? Kasi you're sabotaging the economy. Kung sa stock market, ganun yun. Sabotaging the economy. Technically, crime pa rin yun. So, I'm not so sure if meron ng regulation dyan when it comes to crypto. So, ganun yung nangyari. Narag pull yung sa project na pinopromote ni Beatmaestro based on what I understood.
That also goes into the next phase where crypto started to become really mainstream. Kasi I
Mhm.
remember before there weren't that many KOLs. There were forums. So that's where there were forums, there were groups. There's not a lot of influencers or there's not a lot of personalities that were talking about cryptocurrency. As I know, as I observed, I think like everything changed when things started to get more popular now. And of course, speaking more about the rug pool thing, I also remember there was a stage in the Philippines where there were rug pools left and right because everybody was not really everybody, but like a lot of people were launching micro caps. I think this was like KuCoin ata yun or something, but there were platforms where it's kind of like pump fun before where you could launch a token and then like very small
Mhm.
micro cap and people would pump it and then it would suddenly disappear. But yeah, that's definitely something that I would like to believe has changed over the years because back then they were happening a lot of times, but now at least when they happen, people immediately catch the attention and then like
Yeah.
call them out and there's repercussions now, not like before that it was more of the wild west. So I think like right now in the conversation we're moving towards what crypto is right now or the ecosystem is right now because personally I've also been working in web3 for quite a while. So I've been working in the blockchain space in media. You of course have been following the narrative ever since 2013. Could you tell us the change from the Wild Wild West side? Like for example, like the from the Shiba Inu to now, as you said that it's kind of oversaturated with all the different types of blockchains, networks, L1s in the space. Now, what do you think the crypto ecosystem is like compared to before?
Today, it's more acceptable in mainstream, institutionalized. You know, banks like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, even Accenture, technology companies like Accenture, for example, no. Um, this technology they fully accepted this compared to year 2017. Yung I remember yung CEO ng JP Morgan, siya pa rin naman CEO until now. Kung paano niya sabihing scam yung Bitcoin. Sobrang different na ng narrative ngayon kasi hindi na mapigilan talaga yung technology na sinimulan ni Satoshi Nakamoto Kung sino man siya, saludo sa'yo. Kasi until now, no one knows his or her identity, or it could be theirs. Kasi, ayun. So, the narrative today is really different. It's really accepted, somehow accepted na. And you see what happened with XRP. Especially nanalo sila sa SEC, 'di ba? Sa case ng SEC. And sa XRP naman, if you could see, their 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 project is actually yung ano bang tawag doon, money transfer in partnership with the banks, 'di ba? That's how their project is for. So just to give you some layman terms kung ano ba 'yon yung sinasabi doon. So imbis na magpadala ka ng either wire transfer, or I forgot the other yung meron pang isang ano, makalimutan ko yung term. Imbis na it will take like how many days tapos mataas yung charge, in a few minutes lang nasa na yung pera. Ganun lang kadali. Anywhere, everywhere, globally. Ganun. So, yeah, the narrative is really different from before and today. And especially when it comes to hyping din, medyo hindi na rin ganun kadali ma-hype ang isang bagay. Matatalino na rin ang mga investor ngayon eh. They really have to most yung mga hindi napapadala sa mga hype is they're more into due diligence. Due diligence, and ano ba yung what's behind that project, who's people behind this project. Yung mga ganun. So hindi na iba na ang ngayon. Mas katanggap-tanggap na institutionalized, and at the same time it is being embraced by the general public. Even in the government, 'di ba? Ngayon si Senator Bam, si Senator Rapi Tulfo, I know hindi pa ganun kalalim yung nalalaman ng government natin, but you see naman, 'di ba? How the SEC respond to platforms, to international crypto platform, trading platform, kung how they, how they react in terms of banning the exchanges like Binance, Bybit. Somehow nakikita naman natin yung evolution ang layo na, mas katanggap-tanggap na siya ngayon compare noon.
That's a really good observation of everything. Of course, like that's also a term that we use a lot around. Like now, crypto has been institutionalized because there's definitely banks, there's big corporations, it's starting to integrate into like the big financial world. So the funny thing was, I remember back then the narrative was that Web3 will replace Web2, or Web3 will replace the financial system. But what's happening right now is it feels like Web3 is integrating into our financial system.
Parang
So
collaboration nga no? Parang ganoon
yeah,
Oo
yeah, there's no competition, there's
Oo, wala.
integration now.
Nag-evolve lang, nag-evolve. And at the same
Yeah.
time, 'di ba, look at El Salvador. Bitcoin was their they accepted it as their one of the ano bang tawag doon? Parang
Legal tender.
legal tender na nila, see? It's really evolving, and I hope the Philippines as well. Kaso ewan ko anong plano sa bansa natin. Ayan.
Speaking of the Philippines, of course, one thing that me and you really related with was our love for travel. So we shared about some trips that we go around Mindanao and Visayas and Luzon and the different places we visit to. I think speaking of it in general, what do you think is the state of the Philippines when it comes to adoption in terms of this type of emerging technologies? Like not just blockchain, but like maybe blockchain and AI and all these emerging techs. Because some would say that the Philippines is very, very advanced because we're an English speaking country, because more people get to adapt, because we have access to this type of technologies. But some would say that in the rural areas, we're also very, very behind because like a lot of them still don't have access to the internet. A lot of them are still struggling. So what's your take on it based on the things you've seen, the places you've been to?
Personally, hindi pa ganun karami sa Philippines. Hindi pa ganun karami ang mga aware sa crypto. sa blockchain sa mga Filipinos. Maybe because akala ko lang marami talaga because I'm in the space with the same mindset, with the same people. But in general, hindi pa talaga eh. Kasi kulang pa rin. Parang, I would say, kumbaga parang kung sino man yung nasa space ngayon in the Philippines, masyado pa tayong maaga. Medyo hilaw pa. Although marami na no, pero hindi pa rin super ganun kadami kasi hindi pa rin halos naiintindihan ng nakararami kung how it will utilize the advantage of this technology. So we need more more education for the general public. Yun ang masasabi ko kasi masyadong mababaw lang yung nalalaman ng general public eh. But yung medyo deeper para mas ma-take advantage nila yung technology, yun yung masasabi kong hindi pa ganun.
Before we slowly end our podcast, of course, like I want to ask you, what are maybe your three favorite places to travel around the Philippines, if you could name them?
Of course, three ba? Three? Sa Luzon, yung sa lugar ni Wang Ud, sa Kalinga. Because of course, the nature itself, no, the people. So maganda dun sa Kalinga because sa north kasi yun malamig yung klima, presko yung hangin, yung mga pagkain, yung bigas, ganyan. Then sa Visayas naman, of course, Cebu. Cebu talaga, sa heart ko yung Cebu. I love Cebu. Maybe because the roots of my ancestors din. So Visayas talaga yung ancestors namin eh. And I was able to live in Visayas. I see the beauty of the island, Although hindi ko pa napuntahan lahat like Siquijor, pero yung Negros Occidental tsaka Cebu yan. Ganda. Outside Metro Manila, you will appreciate the Philippines, and at the same time sa Davao, of course, Davao is my home in Mindanao. So, yung tatlong 'yan, hindi yan mawawala sa isip ko, tsaka I would recommend those three. Of course, sa Luzon after Kalinga, next is the Baguio. Kaya lang Baguio kasi masyado ng overrated para sa akin eh. Ayun. Davao pa rin pagdating sa pinakamurang pagkain, fruit basket of the Philippines. Wala akong masabi. Na-experience ko talaga sa Davao manirahan. Talagang solid.
That's really nice to hear. Our last question is more on you personally. What are your plans for 2026? Are you still going to be trading? Do you have some strategies? Do you have some things to look forward to? Are you going to be focused more on your tech career? Or are you going to be more heavy on investing in trading? Or what are your plans for next year?
Pagsasabayin ko sila, so tech career, at the same time, building portfolio. Ganun na lang. That's how, kasi that's what works with me kasi yun yung na-experience ko. So, ganun, sa mga nag-i-start pa lang, especially pag bata ka pa, kakampi mo rito yung panahon. So, kung maaga kang mag-i-invest, of course, you invest only what you can afford to lose, and at the same time should be extra money lang talaga, and I would suggest dun ka sa mga nasubok na, yung mga nasa top 10 to top 5, no? Kung may mahanap ka man, good for you to just to build your portfolio kasi pag mag-retire tayo, magagamit mo rin yung may ipon mo as your retirement. So, pagpapatuloy ko pa rin sabay sila, tech career, and at the same time, building portfolio.
This is Riverian Studios, Shankar, Shanks. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Yurian. Salamat.